Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Palace Off the Top Rope presents SmackDown. This is episode number 7, which originally aired on September 30th, 1999, and it emanated from Richmond, Virginia. We have passed Unforgiven, and we are now on the road to No Mercy, which is in just a few weeks. 2 weeks, if I'm stating correctly, as they stated on this show. Before I get into this rundown of this show, it's stated here on the network that it was about like an hour long. So I watched this thing and everything's happening so fast, and they were promoting this show that was going to air on UPN right after it. So I think it wasn't the full 2 hours. So they got like a shortened episode. So everything's happening super fast on this episode. So we should be able to get through this pretty quickly. But a lot of stuff happens as we carve our path to No Mercy, the next pay-per-view event from WWE at this point. So the show opens up with Chris Jericho having a match with the Road Dogg, who is out with Billy Gunn because they are the tag team champions. They're back, the New Age Outlaws. And I love this because it's a continuation on the feud that these two had at SummerSlam, and then even going back to that first SmackDown on UPN a couple episodes back where Chris Jericho put the Road Dogg through a table. You know, he was out for a couple of weeks for a while, and then finally made his return, and they want to end this feud. So here we go. We have this matchup, and it's straight up from the go. You know, Road Dogg's pissed. He goes after Jericho immediately, doesn't even let him finish making his entrance, throws him into the ring. They begin to have this match. And as I stated, the New Age Outlaws, they're the tag team champions. They won the belts off the Rock and Sock Connection just not even that long ago. So, they have like opponents and tag teams that are already coming after them. Well, here's the one team that's making their way to the ringside, more importantly to the commentary table, and it's the Hollies, Hardcore and Crash. So they make their way to ringside. They talk about how they want a tag team championship match with the Outlaws, and that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, Jericho and Road Dogg are just, having this all-out brawl, and it's mostly Road Dogg getting the better of Jericho, and even to the point where Road Dogg gets so pissed and he doesn't really care about winning or losing the match, and he grabs the referee, Earl Hebner, and he throws him out of the ring, right? And this kind of like surprises Billy Gunn, who's standing there in his corner. And the ref calls for the bell. The referees are back, I should note. Vince McMahon did make a deal with these referees because remember they were on strike. And apparently this all came to a head at the pay-per-view at Unforgiven. And then finally it was all resolved on Monday Night Raw. And Vince McMahon told them they could have control. They could have more authority. Just take initiative, do what they have to do. So, the ref here is quick to call the match. Jericho wins by disqualification, but, Road Dogg doesn't care. Meanwhile, Curtis Hughes is battling with Billy Gunn, who's the one who accompanies Jericho to the ring. They're distracted on the side. Road Dogg brings a table into the ring and wants to do to Chris Jericho what he did to him a few weeks back and take him out. The Hollies, though, they're on commentary, as I said, and they're like, well, we're not going to let this happen. So they come into the ring, they stop it, they let Jericho escape, they beat down on the Road Dogg, they powerbomb him through the table, so Road Dogg gets, looks dumb in the end anyway because he gets put through the table. Billy notices this and, forgets about Curtis Hughes. Him and Jericho escape to the back. And Billy Gunn tries to get into the ring, tries to help out, but he gets knocked out. Hardcore Holly does a slam to him, and they leave these guys for dead. And again, we're set up here for a tag title matchup between the Hollies and the New Age Outlaws. We'll see if it gets announced for No Mercy. I think if I remember correctly, it does. This match does happen at the pay-per-view, but they haven't announced it officially. But here we go. They're planting the seeds. They got the feud going, so that's the quick start here to SmackDown. Then we cut to an interview with Lillian Garcia and Vince McMahon. And, Vince is talking about what happened on Monday Night Raw with The Rock and Triple H's title match and the British Bulldog interfering and all this nonsense that happened. So he says that Triple H is going to have another championship match here on this episode of SmackDown. He's going to be defending the title against the British Bulldog, but there's just a couple of things that are going to be different this time. One, he says that China won't be allowed at ringside, so she's banned, won't be involved at all. He's going to fine Triple H $25,000 for hitting the referee on Monday Night Raw in his matchup with The Rock. And lastly, he's going to name a special guest referee for the match, and that just so happens to be The Rock, the guy who's been getting screwed in all of these matchups and all these title defenses against Triple H. The Rock's been getting the short end of the stick here, so from a booking logic standpoint, I don't understand why making The Rock here as the guest referee is the route they're going with. He should be the one just getting the championship match without any of this nonsense going on. China, Bulldog interfering, all that, but British Bulldog gets the championship match? Huh. Okay. Anyways, that's what we learned here from this interview. We cut out to Mankind, who's out for a promo. Again, this is a very fast episode, so we don't even really get full entrances. Mankind's already halfway out into the ring. He's talking about the Rock and Sock connection, and he's very appreciative of the team that's been formed between him and the Rock. On Monday Night Raw, they had this segment called "This Is Your Life," which, if you look up on the WWE Network, it's one of the most famous, iconic, and it's probably one of still, if I'm saying this correctly, it's still the highest rated segment in the history of Monday Night Raw. And it was basically a comedic segment with Mankind bringing out people from The Rock's past, old high school coach, old girlfriend, obviously all in storyline, of course. They're not the real people, but it was just this really different, non-wrestling style type of entertainment, and it just garnered a lot of praise, especially because of how The Rock was able to be so entertaining in this, along with Mankind. So it's just Mankind reflecting on this moment from Monday Night Raw, and but he's talking about how something got spoiled on Monday night, and he's talking about specifically Val Venus. Now the audience and even the commentators are like, well, what is this? What are they talking about? What do you mean Val Venus ruined it? What is he talking about? So Mankind calls out, Val Venus. He wants an explanation of what's going on. And so Val Venus comes out, and even Val's confused. What are you talking about, Mick? I didn't do anything. What do you want? And Mankind, and like I've told you before, Val Venus is this porn star. That's the gimmick. And he starts doing all these sexual puns, like this one right here.
Val, I know what you've got in your pants, and I want it.
What? No.
Oh my God, that's so stupid, but it's hilarious. So he's talking about that damn Socko that he gave to The Rock. And the way we find this out is because they show on the Titantron a GTV video that caught Val Venus looking through some trash, and he notices that Rock sock that was given as a gift to The Rock, but why is it in the trash? We don't know why. Anyways, Val Venus steals the sock, stuffs it down his pants, and that's what Mankind has been talking about this whole time. So, he tries to go after Venus and get the sock from him, but Val's like, hey man, I have no issues with you. I didn't know that sock means a lot to you, and let me just go get it for you, and I'll give it to you. And that's that. He doesn't want any problems. So that's the end of that promo, and again, it looks like here they're setting up a feud here between Val Venus and Mankind, but we'll find out more as we run down this show a little bit later on, what happens between those two. They go to commercial break. We come back. We find out that during the break, the Triple H was just running rampant backstage. Obviously, the bad guy heel's always pissed that he's got to defend the title. The thing with being a heel champion is they always got to act like cowards. So, he confronts Vince and Shane McMahon, and just the whole spiel, you're gonna pay for this, and I'm gonna win, and all this stuff, and it's just setting up the tension between the McMahons and Triple H, and obviously that's gonna escalate towards later at the end of the year when we get there. But again, they're planting the seeds. WWE was about long-term storytelling at this point, so they would always plant the seeds early. Up next, we have Lillian Garcia interviewing The Rock. She wants his thoughts on being the special guest referee in the Triple H British Bulldog Championship match. He's pissed that the British Bulldog's getting the title match. Like I told you at the beginning, I agree with him. Like, it makes no sense logic-wise, and it's good that The Rock here is noticing that. He's pissed about it. He's got a point. But he says, regardless of the fact, he says Triple H and Bulldog beat the hell out of each other for all he cares. But he's going to call the thing right down the middle. He's going to be impartial. And, The Rock guest referee in tonight's main event. Up next, we got Edge and Christian battling the New Brood, which is Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, for those of you that didn't know. They're accompanied by Gangrel. So before they have this matchup, they're having their entrances and whatnot. All of a sudden, Terry Runnels shows up to ringside. And on Monday Night Raw, we learned that she got thrown to the curb by the Mean Street Posse on GTV. So she's kind of like on her own again. And, she's looking to invest in a new tag team or just a new group in general. So during this matchup between Edge and Christian and the New Brood, she's talking to Jerry Lawler on commentary about a Terry Runnels Invitational Tournament. In where the winner's going to win $1,000 along with the services of her being a manager. And it's a best-of-5 series between Edge and Christian and the New Brood. So how is it even a tournament? That doesn't make any sense. If it's just these two teams competing, why not just call it the Terry Invitational? Why are you calling it a tournament if it's just two teams? You figured there'd be more, so whatever. That doesn't make sense, but... Anyways, it's announced, and at first I thought that the teams didn't even know they were competing for this because it looks like they're just having a match. But then, Edge and Christian pick up the win in a nice little, short, really fun match. We know these guys are really going to start to tear it up because they're like the new blood, pun intended with the New Brood and all that stuff, and their gimmick of, blooding opponents and all that stuff, Gangrel, the vampire, all that shit. They pick up the win in his awesome match. It's probably the best of the night, even though it's super short. And, we're going to see them later on in the upcoming, year doing, TLC matches and having all these classics with the Dudleys and all that stuff. But more to that later in the year and also just later next year as we continue on this journey of SmackDown. They point to Terry Runnels. Like I said, I didn't know if these guys knew they were involved in this invitational, but Edge and Christian point to Terry Runnels after they pick up the victory, and they're giving her that one signal, meaning they're up 1-0 in the series. So again, best of 5. We'll see how many more matches they end up. Obviously, spoilers, they're going to end up fighting at the pay-per-view, No Mercy, in a tag team ladder match, which is kind of a first for the WWE at this point in their history. So that's that for SmackDown as far as these characters are concerned. Up next we have Terry Taylor, who's interviewing the British Bulldog. Is just wanting his thoughts on a championship match, and Bulldog still kind of he's already established that he's a heel, but here in this promo he's still talking like he's a good guy. He's talking about how he's grateful for the opportunity. Thanks Vince for giving him the championship match. He's talking about how he's going to beat Triple H in the middle of the ring. But he also tells The Rock, who's going to be the guest referee, tells him to stay out of his way. But it's buddy, you've been interfering in all his shit, since you've gotten back. You turned heel on him in the bull rope match. You're the one that blasted him with the chair at Unforgiven that ended up leading to him getting the pinfall in that matchup and Triple H winning the title. So, yeah, it's here. The Bulldog telling The Rock to stay out of his way is stupid because obviously we know The Rock is going to get his revenge one way or the other. But, Bulldog's logic here is pretty dumb. Up next, we got The Rock and Mankind. They're in the locker room, and, Mankind's telling The Rock that Val Venus has got the Rocco sock, and Rock, and just being classic Rock, he's like, wait a minute, who the hell is Val Venus? And, just Rock just throws in these little one-liners that are perfect. He's such like a big superstar that he's like, who the hell is this guy? Even though he's on the roster and he's probably faced him before in the past. And then he's like, oh yeah, Val Venus, the porn guy, whatever. And again, just more great comedy here between Rock and Mankind. And Rock's like, kind of like he cares, but he's kind of just like whatever. Like, yeah, Mankind, go get back my Rocco sock. Like, just take care of business. And Mankind's like, yeah, for sure, I'm gonna go. Like, I got work to do, whatever. They go to commercial break, and they come back. And during the break, apparently Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shane McMahon are having some type of conversation in the back. We don't know what they're talking about. It's mostly just the SmackDown theme playing, and they're just backstage. So Stone Cold Steve Austin's back, but they're not really using him as much anymore, which is kind of interesting. Like, I know he's still like dealing with the knee injuries and all that stuff, so you don't really have to have him wrestle, but it's funny to me that they're not even using him like to cut a promo, because literally he doesn't say anything throughout this entire show, and then once I finish it, you'll understand why I'm like feeling this way. Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin's your biggest star, like use him, but it's also good to get exposure for like other guys to have the spotlight. But I just find it real interesting. Like, you got your number one guy, and he's kind of like just hanging out in the back. They'll cut to him just hanging out, and like this, just talking with Shane McMahon, and then that's it. Up next, we have the European Championship match. Again, this show is going super fast, so it's Big Show against D'Lo Brown. Big Show's already in the ring. D'Lo Brown winning the European title at Unforgiven from Mark Henry. Prince Albert and Draws are on commentary. They're here for this matchup. They're talking about how the booking committee's like not really, doing anything in their favor, so they kind of want to just, take things in their own hands and carve their own destiny and whatnot. So they're I guess interested in the European title, specifically Draws, and Albert's got some kind of fixation on the Big Show, and that's basically what this match is. It's super short. And D'Lo gets knocked out to the outside at some point, and that allows Prince Albert to try to sneak attack the Big Show from behind. Big Show catches him. The referee immediately calls for the bell. The match is over. Again, Prince Albert tries to get the upper hand, but Big Show power bombs him out of the ring. Draws doesn't do anything. He's on commentary, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to take care of D'Lo Brown. So he starts to beat the hell out of him. And they're in the ring, and Draws is putting the beat down on D'Lo. And then out of nowhere, Mark Henry comes to make the save. Now, this is Mark Henry, the guy that's been feuding with D'Lo, the guy who turned his back on D'Lo Brown. But luckily, if this were today's WWE, like, they just totally forget what had happened before, and they just go on as if like nothing had ever happened. But here there's obviously still animosity. D'Lo Brown doesn't want any of Mark Henry's help. Just shoves him out of the way and just immediately like leaves and takes his belt with him. And Mark Henry's trying to plead with him, trying to get him to listen to him. He grabs a microphone, talks about addiction and talks about how he's, there's drug addicts, alcohol addicts, all this stuff. And here on this show, again, this is the Attitude Era where all this shit was happening. It was TV 14 and all that stuff. So he talks about being a sex addict and all that stuff. And there's actual tears coming out of his eyes while he's doing this promo. And the audience is kind of laughing, but they don't really know how to feel. Same thing with the commentators. They're like, oh, you shouldn't laugh at addiction. It's a serious thing. But then they're also like, don't really know how to respond to him. And basically, Mark Henry is just saying, like, out of this whole thing and the addiction that's consumed him, the one thing that he lost was his best friend, D'Lo Brown. So he's kind of sad and I guess wants to make amends for it. So that's how it ends. He's there crying, and then, they go to commercial. And when we come back, we see a shot of Tess and Stephanie, and it looks like they're at I don't know. It looks they're not in like a locker room or anything like that. It just looks like they're somewhere weird in the arena where they could film something. Like, I don't know, like not a bar or not like a restaurant type area. I don't know. It's just weird where they were at. Anyways, it's Stephanie McMahon going through all these magazines of wedding dresses and getting all excited. Their wedding, I think, is coming up on the October 11th episode of Monday Night Raw. Anyways, Tess is not paying attention to her at all. He's like looking the other way. Apparently, there's a sports game or something going on. Stephanie's like, come on, pay attention. And Tess is like, I don't, Stephanie, like, it doesn't matter what dress you're going to wear because, I'm not marrying the dress. I'm marrying you. Like, you're going to look amazing, whatever it is that you wear. And I don't know, maybe this plants the seeds of whatever eventually happens in the breakdown between these two. But that's I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We'll talk about that later down the line. Real quick, short segment. Up next, we got a triple threat tag team elimination match. It's Kane and X-Pac against the Acolytes and against the Dudley Boys. Now, the interesting thing to note here, and this concerns Mankind, is that when the Dudley Boys are coming out for their entrance of the match, you see Bubba Ray's wearing the Rock and Sock Connection jacket, more specifically the one that was gifted to The Rock. So again, all these things that were gifted to The Rock, the sock, the jacket, I guess apparently they were all just like somewhere in a trash can for some reason now. Is this to make us believe that The Rock just didn't give a shit about any of this stuff and he just tossed it? Or is somebody playing mind games or whatever? Anyways, he shows up, he's wearing that jacket, and they're having this match. And they cut to a shot in the back where you see Stevie Richards telling Mankind, like, look, man, this guy's got the jacket. And Mankind's kind of like, like, what the hell's going on, man? Now he's dealing with Val Venus, who he wants to get the Rock sock back from. And now he's got to deal with Bubba Ray. So they cut back to the match. It's kind of whatever. The referees are being more authoritative here, and they're making that known, which is what I love. They're just continuing the storyline of the referees just having more authority now, and they've been really good at telling you that throughout these matchups that have been happening. I forgot to mention in the Edge and Christian tag team match, the referee threw out Gangrel like right at the beginning for like no reason, and it was just to show that the refs just have like more power, you could say. So just a lot of that going on, and that's a big theme of this episode, just to show that the refs are a big deal in WWE. So back to this triple threat elimination match. The Acolytes get thrown out from the refs. The Acolytes were just being out of control. So the refs just threw in their weight, got him out of there, and then this leads to a real quick one-on-one with Kane, Dudley Boys, and X-Pac. And Kane and X-Pac pick up the win here super fast. This match didn't go on super long because there's so much stuff happening under the 1 hour time limit of this whole episode that was presented on the network. The Dudley Boys quickly leave because the Acolytes return, and they start beating up on Kane and X-Pac and just leave them for dead. And I think that's setting up a feud between those two teams. So again, a lot of stuff being set up here as we continue to move on the road to No Mercy. We go to commercial, we come back, and during the break, we see Mankind talking with Bubba Ray Dudley, asking him to give him back that jacket that was gifted to The Rock. And, Bubba Ray's kind of just saying hey, buddy, if you want it, you're going to have to fight me for it or come get it, whatever. And it looks like it's leading to a match or a confrontation later. Not really sure, but that's all we get out of that segment. Up next, we have Jeff Jarrett, again, who's already in the ring for a promo. Music's already blaring, doesn't get the whole entrance. He's in there already. But the only difference is that we see that he's brought in with him all of these house products, like an ironing board, all these pots and pans and silver platters, cookie cutter platters, all that stuff. And it's announced here that Jeff Jarrett's already going to meet Chyna in a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship because as I didn't get to review Unforgiven for you guys, but Chyna got disqualified in her matchup with Jarrett there, but apparently she still gets a rematch anyway. But the difference is, in this matchup at No Mercy for the Intercontinental Championship, it's going to be a good housekeeping match where basically they can use all of these products that Jarrett has brought out to the ring. So it's basically like a hardcore, no disqualification match where, you can use weapons and all that stuff. But it's more just like house cleaning products, whatever, all the goods, all that stuff. Brooms, dusting pans, all that stuff. It's announced throughout the show that Cindy Margolis is back. She's in the crowd along with another co-star. Again, they've been hyping up this this UPN show that's going to air immediately right after SmackDown. So they've been hyping this thing up, and Jeff Jarrett notices that Cindy Margolis is in the crowd, and again just pokes fun at her, just goes after her again, because remember a few episodes ago, he invited her into the ring and gave her the figure four. Or not, he didn't invite her into the ring. This was all with Ivory and whatnot, but he ended up getting involved and put the figure four on her and all that stuff. So, he invites her into the ring again along with the other co-star from the show. I forgot what her name was. And, wants to challenge him to a handicap match. And this brings out Deborah, who, distracts Jarrett. So she shows up to the entranceway. She's no longer with Jarrett. Again, she got put in the figure four leg lock, along with all these other women that Jarrett has just been harassing and, just giving so much shit to for them being women. So you got, Jacqueline, you got, whatever, the makeup artist, the Lillian Garcia, the announcer, Mae Young, the Fabulous Moolah, all these people that Jarrett is just like pissed off. And they all storm to the ring, and there's a funny line here from Michael Cole when this is going on. He's like, "Look at this, King! It's a damn militia!" Like, calm down, Michael Cole. Like, just settle down. So they show up, they surround the ring, they start getting all these little weapons, all these house products. But before any of that can happen, Jarrett gets a good clean shot on Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah, the oldest women, like in here. These ladies already have got to be like in their 70s and whatnot. And he's just giving clean shots to them, knocking them down. And from behind, finally, we get more involvement from China. And she's beating up Jarrett, taking him, giving him shot after shot. Finally clotheslines him over the top rope. And again, all these ladies that have just been harassed by Jarrett finally get their shot on him. They're beating on him with all these weapons. You got Cindy Margolis there with a cookie platter, trying to get after him. The only one here who gets a real good shot is Deborah, who's got like I think it's like another like silver platter pan. Bangs Jarrett over the head. Sends Jarrett running. All the women start chasing him. You see Lillian Garcia and Jacqueline chase him up the rampway, and just super, super hilarious, and all build for the Good Housekeeping match for the Intercontinental Championship at No Mercy. China, Jeff Jarrett. It's going to come to a head. We cut to backstage again. We got The Rock and Mankind. And again, Mankind's letting The Rock know that Bubba Ray Dudley's got the Rock jacket. And The Rock's like, well, you got to get it back. The Rock, whatever. The Rock just kind of, he has other stuff more important to him. He's not really like, he's not telling Mick to fuck off or anything like that. But he's kind of just like, you just do what you got to do, Mick. I got my thing. So Mankind's like, you're right. I got work to do. Boom, boom, boom. Up next, we got Terry Taylor, who's interviewing the head of WWE Security, who's just, I forgot what his name. We'll just call him Joe Schmo. Anyway, he's this guy that's been around WWE for a long time. He's usually the guy he hangs out like in the corner of the ring, like by the barricade, just to make sure like that real fans don't, step in and try to get into the ring. Because we've seen that happen. And it happened a lot during the Attitude Era, mainly in WCW, when, fans would just literally storm the ring and try to attack the wrestlers. So this guy, the security guy, was like a real guy. But they put him, I guess, into this storyline here with Steve Blackman, who he's apparently having issues with. Stuff that happened at Unforgiven and on Monday Night Raw. They just had all these confrontations. And, just before this head of security guy, this Joe Schmo guy, could get in a word on his interview, from behind, Steve Blackman attacks him real quick, leaves him for dead. And I guess this is leading to something. So that's the end on that. Up next, we got the Mankind, who's back out in the ring. Again, no entrance. He's just in there. He wants that jacket from Bubba Ray Dudley. Calls him out. Bubba Ray and Devon from behind attack Mankind. The bell rings. So I guess we're having a match because it's not the bell ringing like over and over and over again. For like just to stop. It's kind of like just to start a match. So here we go. It's Mankind versus Bubba Ray Dudley, I guess. And while this match is going on real quickly, Val Venus shows up to ringside. He's got the Rocco sock with him, joins in on the commentary team. And, gosh, just so much shit happens here in this segment that I hope I can recap this perfectly or as best as I can. So they're having that match. Val Venus at the commentary table with the Rocco sock. Here we go. Let's see what happens here. What happens next? Mankind gets the beat down on Bubba Ray Dudley. Is able to take the jacket off of Bubba, and he's got it. And there's not really an end to this match as the Dudleys kind of just get off screen. And now we just see Mankind focus his attention to Val Venus. Tells him that he wants that Rock sock. So Val Venus comes into the ring, and Val Venus is telling him how, like, he respects Mankind and for everything that he's done, everything that happened at Hell in the Cell in 1998 with The Undertaker, all of that stuff, him falling off the cage, and has just made all of their lives better, like, money-wise. And that's true, because a lot of this stuff that happened, this is why WWE got super popular in the late 90s with all of this, like, crazy stuff that happened. And yeah, they're all getting like paid better. They're getting more exposure. They're as popular as ever. And Val Venus is thankful for that for Mick Foley. But then out of nowhere, Venus has still got that Rock Socko on him, and he takes a shot to Mankind's groin and just knocks him out. Just solidifies Val Venus as a heel and turns him. And this is the feud we're going with here. The Dudley Boys show back up. And they rip up that Rock jacket. And it's just Mankind getting his ass beat. He does try to get help from Stevie Richards, who's kind of emulating him. He's dressed up as Dude Love, but he gets his ass knocked out by the Dudleys. The crowd's chanting for The Rock. Obviously, The Rock doesn't show up. So they kind of make it go one of two ways. Either The Rock really doesn't care about Mick Foley, or The Rock's just too concerned with the real stuff that he's looking forward to, is like the WWE title and all of that feud going on. So this is more just establishing Mankind and the feud with Val Venus is about to happen. It was cool to involve the Dudley Boys and just get other people involved just to build up this storyline. And now we're here for the main event. The WWE title match, Triple H versus the British Bulldog, with The Rock as a special guest referee. Obviously, The Rock comes out first, cuts a quick promo, usual Rock stuff. The British Bulldog comes out. Immediately, him and Rock start jarring. They go at it real quick. The Rock gets the better of the Bulldog, leaves him on the outside, gets back into the ring. Triple H shows up, and being the bad guy that he is, goes after a Bulldog who's already down, and they start to have this match. And it's whatever. This main event ends up being awesome because The Rock is just so electrifying. He's kind of being super lazy as a ref. He's not really giving a shit, not really counting. There's like all this stuff that's going on that you could call for a disqualification. Rock doesn't care. He's letting them go, letting them just beat the shit out of each other. Rock joins in on the commentary table, off and on, just being The Rock. And he's not even dressed in referee gear. He's got like his, nice shoes, nice pants, nice shirt, watch. He's even got the sunglasses on the whole time. He's just not taking it serious. And why should he? He's gotten the shit. He's gotten the shit end of all of this, going back to when SmackDown premiered on UPN, getting screwed over by Shawn Michaels. He got screwed over at the Unforgiven pay-per-view. Got screwed over this past Monday night on Raw with the Bulldog. So why should he care? Why should he give a damn about who really wins this match? So I think this thing kind of ends in a no contest because I don't remember seeing a pinfall count from The Rock. The Bulldog does get the upper hand on Triple H at one point. The Rock comes in with a microphone in hand, starts the countdown before he hits the 3. He's like, it doesn't matter if I count to 3 or not. And finally, The Rock gets a final rock bottom on the Bulldog, does the people's elbow in the nice clothes, and this is the classic SmackDown moment where you have The Rock doing the people's elbow, and he does it while he's sliding. So it's a real cool visual. So when SmackDown premieres on Fox this upcoming Friday, and they highlight all the 20 years and the greatest moments, and even the one that I saw, they aired a greatest SmackDown moments this past Friday on Fox, and that was one of the moments that showed up, The Rock doing that sliding people's elbow, which is a great visual. And again, it's on this episode where it happens. So check it out if you get a chance to go back on the network. It's the September 30th episode. So the only thing out of this that's interesting is that The Rock leaves with the WWE Championship. And this leaves Triple H all pissed. He wants to know where his belt's at. He goes after the timekeeper Mark Eaton. He's like, where the hell's my belt? Tells him The Rock took it. Triple H knocks him out, heads to the backstage area. He's just beating the shit out of all these people in his way, wanting to know where The Rock's at. And finally, The Rock knocks him from behind with the belt. He's just, going at it at Triple H. The Rock's just fed up with all this stuff that's been happening to him. But then I don't know where the Bulldog finally makes his way back, and him and The Rock start going at it, and they eventually fight off screen. And Triple H is left with his championship. So he's finally got a breather. He can go back to his locker room and, just get some rest or whatever. So the camera's following him as he's walking towards his locker room. Tries to open the door. It's locked for some reason. And he's like banging on the door. And he wants China to open. He's like, China, come on, open the door. You know what the hell's going on? Like, let me in or whatever. And finally the door opens. And who is standing there? But other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And him and Triple H start to brawl. But it's more just Stone Cold getting the better Triple H. Just beating the shit out of him in the hallway. Not even letting him get into the locker room. And Stone Cold leaving Triple H for dead. They're going to face off at No Mercy for the WWE Championship. It's announced here that it's going to be no holds barred, so that's just an added kicker for the Rattlesnake as they prepare for that championship match. And Triple H, left for dead here on this episode. Stone Cold standing tall. Again, they don't really use him that much here. He shows up in a backstage talking segment with Shane McMahon where they're not even showing you what they're talking about. You just see them talking. And then this, where he has the final upper hand on Triple H. And that's where we leave off on our SmackDown journey and the road to No Mercy. Real quick episode. That was, I'm pretty sure that I was talking a while about this. Feels like I've been talking about it for an hour. So much stuff happening. But it was a real quick watch. Again, it was only an hour on the network, so that was interesting. But that's going to do it for this episode of Palace Off the Top Rope presents SmackDown. Thank you for joining me if you're a diehard wrestling fan. Again, SmackDown on Fox debuts this Friday. Again, huge wrestling week. Monday Night Raw, Total Divas Tuesday, AEW, the world premiere, All Elite Wrestling, along with NXT. We got a little break on Thursday where there's nothing going on. And then Friday, SmackDown on Fox. Big, huge debut from the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And then, of course, Sunday we have the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. So much wrestling this week. It's going to be crazy. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it all lives up to the hype. It's gonna be fun. But thank you for joining me on this episode. Really appreciate it. I'll end it here. God bless you guys, and good night.